Hey, it's Spyro at and this is my top 10 Xbox 360 game. And in at number 10, starting off my top 10 is State of Decay. Now, there's lots of zombie games out there these days, but State of Decay was a bit different. I mean, it focused more on stealth, sort of survival, build up your community, collect all the resources. It reminded me a lot of DayZ, the Arma 2 mod, but this was sort of a single player version. It would have been awesome if it had multiplayer, and that's what would have made this game a lot higher on my list, but still an awesome thing to play through. Still haven't done everything on it, and for only an arcade game, well worth the money. It was cheap, and I've put a lot more hours into this than I have some retail games. So if you haven't got it, go out there and download this game because it's pretty good. And number 9 on my list is... I've always liked the idea of the Elder Scrolls games, sort of free roam, open world, do what you want, but really strong sort of storyline going on. Now, I had Oblivion, didn't really get on with it. The leveling up system in that was a bit weird, but Skyrim, complete improvement on Oblivion, level system perfect, and the way that you could sort of tailor make your characters to do whatever you want. Like I would make a mage, but I made what would be a battle mage. So focusing on smithing and enchanting, I was able to make a mage which had really strong armor, and an armor which was enchanted enough to reduce all of my sort of mana consumption. So basically I could cast spells for nothing, and completely destroyed everything. Nothing could stop my path. Skyrim, very fun game, and dragons. Got to kill some dragons, which is always a good thing. And game number 8. Now I knew I was going to have a Halo game in my top 10, and it was a bit difficult picking which one. So the number 8 spot is actually gone to Halo 4. Part of me did want to put it to Halo Reach or even Halo 3, sort of the first game on the Xbox, the Halo series. I went for 4 because new sort of developers, and it brought a new whole side to it. And one of the things I did want to know about Halo in the whole sort of expanded universe was more about the Forerunners, and this brought in that extra element that we haven't focused on yet. I'm interested to see how 343 go forward with that, and we learn more about sort of the expanded universe, and more than what Bungie gave us. Not saying that Bungie was bad. I mean, I really enjoyed 3, and Reach was good. And that's where the sort of the handover happened. A lot of new things came in with Reach, and I'm glad they moved forward and progressed with that in number 4, and basically came up with a really good game. Game number 7 is... I'm going to get a lot of people disagreeing with me with my choice. Now, like I said with the Halo, there would be a Halo game in here. Now everyone would assume there'd be a COD game in here, and I've gone for Modern Warfare 3. I know, booing and such, but I actually thought Modern Warfare 3 was a great game, mostly because of the 2 that came before it. A lot of people are going to be disagreeing about the Modern Warfare series in whole, but Modern Warfare 1, great game. 2, you expand upon the original idea. That's what you do with a sequel. And in a trilogy, you go back to the beginning and rework something to change the whole idea of the story. And they did that when you went back as Yuri, and you found out that he worked with the people you've been fighting alongside in the previous 2 games, and you see that he was there at certain events, and that made the story work, and it did what a trilogy was meant to do, as I said before. Gameplay was the same as all of these realistic shooters. They're realistic enough. I don't really care much if the next game is more realistic, but as long as it's got a good story, then I'm intrigued, and that's what I was with this. The story was perfect. It was a great end to the series. Game number 6 on my list. You know us here at Binary Core, we do love a good bit of Minecraft, and I have to put this game in. Part of me wanted to put it higher, but there were some other good games, that had come out over the course of the Xbox 360. But Minecraft, originally, I was against the game. Thought, pixelated, looked crap. There's no storyline, and as I said before, Modern Warfare, I love a good bit of story. But this one, you make your own story, and you need to play with other people. You can play solo, and I have had some good times on it solo, but playing with other people, as you've seen with the many Minecraft series that we've done by Nicole, you get to have a lot of fun. I did then move on to the PC version of this with all the mods, and Tech It was definitely a draw to get me to play this game. But I had a lot of fun on the Xbox version. got quite a lot of my friends into it, and that's how a lot of people in Binary Core are playing it. Still need to work on getting the rest of them, sort of Matt and Tony. We'll get them eventually playing this game. Who knows, they're getting a PS4. I'm sure they'll get the Minecraft on that. Such a great game coming from just a little indie developer, and now look at them. Shows that you just have this idea and you can create a game that can be loved by millions. So simple. Mining and crafting. They didn't even put a lot of thought into their name, and now look what they've got. Game number 5. Now the same sort of thing with the Halo situation. I knew I would have to put a Fear game on here because I love the Fear series. Couldn't put Fear 1 or if it's 2 expansions because I didn't play those on the Xbox, had those on the PC. I do think Fear Files, which is the expansions of the first game, did come out on Xbox, but I didn't play it on that. So it was between Fear 2 and Fear 3. Now, Fear 3, good co-op game. Doesn't have the atmosphere that the Fear game needs. So going with Fear 2, as you can see what's going on in the background. Fear 2 continued with the great story that we have in Fear 1. It had the sort of suspense and the atmosphere, not as much, because I feel like we became desensitized to it after the first game. You have your first scare, and it didn't one up, but it continued slightly on par. Had a more engaging storyline, though the storyline was stronger. When you're playing as Point Man in the first game, you're not too aware of what's going on. You have a sense of idea of, the ATC and Wade and stuff like that. But in Fear 2, the story is thrust more upon you when you're playing as Beckett. I think it's because you've got more of an engaging team. With Fear 1, your team sort of died off and disappeared quite quickly. And I mean, sure, that happens in Fear 2, but it's paced out throughout the whole game. Same sort of gameplay and mechanics, upgraded graphics, of course. So definitely an improvement on Fear 1. That's why I'm going Fear 2. Definitely a good game. If you haven't gone and watched it, go check out my full play of that. Didn't die once, whole way through. I may continue it and do the DLC, Reborn. Very good. You get to play as the antagonist. You get to end up playing as Fettel, so you play as one of the replica soldiers, which is a great thing to do in these sort of games, because you rarely do get to play as the bad guy. Numero 4. Now, Red Dead never really appealed to me in the beginning, and I think this may have been because it came off the back of GTA 4, and that was such an annoyingly bad game that I was like, do you know what, Rockstar? I'm going to leave you alone for a bit. Setting is never something that really intrigued me. I'm not really into westerns. The things that I like that are westerns have a bit of sci-fi element to them as well, so sort of Back to the Future 3, Firefly sort of things. Now, this one, full-on western, doesn't have any supernatural, or does it? Well, you do have the DLC, the zombie one, which I haven't got around to playing yet. I am looking very forward to. But when I finally did get this, because I found it cheap, brilliant game. I can't believe I didn't play this. Having loads of fun playing as John Marston. A great character. Incidentally, I've started reading The Dark Tower Gunslinger, and the gunslinger, to me, Roland, is voiced by John Marston. I don't know, because I just identify with him being a cowboy, guns and whatnot. But back to the game. The range of weapons, the sort of riding around on horses, the breaking in the horses I found was really fun, something I did quite early on, and I do spend a lot of my time just hunting animals. Storyline is good as well. I feel like I should pay more attention to that, because I am just riding around and killing a lot of animals. Best way to make money, to be honest. And I think I'm just going to sort of kit up, get loads of weapons, get loads of ammunition, stock up and stuff, and then continue with the story, which is kind of how I played Skyrim. I sort of built up my character and then continued on. Doesn't work exactly the same because it's not really got an RPG element to it, which I reckon could have been quite good if it did have that put in, but that's not what Rockstar were going with, and I don't know what it would have done to the game if they did, but it's a great game. I'm pretty sure I did hear something about a sequel. Well, Rockstar coming out with not a new IP, an old IP that they're making more about, and I'm hoping it's going to be another Red Dead and definitely not a new LA Noire or something. Number 3! Now, I got on the Dishonored bandwagon quite late, and I wouldn't have played it if Githias hadn't given me a great sort of review rundown of it. Yeah, not different to a lot of other first persons I've played. I mean, when I played this one the first time, I decided to go for one of the hardest runs you can do. It's where you've got to play through the game with not alerting anyone, not killing anyone, and not upgrading any of your weapons. So the achievements for that would be, it's mostly Flesh and Steel, which is don't upgrade your weapons. I think it's Ghost, which is don't kill anyone, or don't get alert anyone, and then don't kill anyone would be like sort of the low chaos one. So hardest way to play it. So much fun. I mean, there was a lot of jumping about, reloading saves and whatnot, but I did have a lot of fun giving myself that extra challenge for it. Which you can do with so many games these days. Give yourself an extra challenge, like play sort of Zelda games with only sticking with the 3 hearts, or keep the iron boots on all the time. And it's something great you can do. DLCs for this were brilliant as well. As I said before, with Fear, getting to play as the antagonist as Fettel. In this one, you get to play as Dowd, who's the Knife of Dumble, which is the name of the first DLC, and sort of see it from his point of view, where he was forced into killing you, and sort of how does he react to that. I mean, you get to make the moral choices with him, high and low chaos, but it's how the aftermath of trying to frame you and assassinate you, what it leads to. There was a second DLC, the Bring More Witches. Haven't yet played that. It wasn't really announced that well when it came out, so I may have to go back and do that. And there's so many things I still need to do on Dishonored, sort of play through on a higher chaos difficulty. That's more of a just your free-for-all, kill everyone, sort of look at the powers that you get more. Because I didn't really see all the other powers you could get because I was doing the not upgrade your weapons. So for me it was all sort of silent takedowns and not killing anyone, so not slicing their throats, sort of just knocking them out and hiding bodies around, which is very fun. If you haven't played it that way, definitely give it a go. It is very difficult and very time consuming, and you may get really annoyed with bits you get stuck on, but it's a great challenge to do, and you have a great sense of achievement at the end of it. It also helps that you do get achievements at the end of it. Number two, 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 number two. Just missing off my top spot is GTA 5, a game I'm very impressed with. I mean, looking back, we had GTA 4, such a flop. An unlikable character. I don't know if the Liberty City setting was bad enough, but here we are with 3 main characters, a great new feature, being able to switch between different perspectives. One of the greatest things about this is when you finish a mission, sometimes you're off in the sticks, you can just switch to a different character and it brings you back straight into the gameplay. There's no running around trying to get back to the main part of the city and get onto the next mission. You get there quicker. And when you've got all 3 characters on missions together, you have a great sort of there's a great one in the trailer where you've got a guy in a helicopter, a guy upside down, and another guy in the building across with a sniper rifle. Those sort of things were set pieces, and you don't get to freely do it as much. You can't sort of direct a character to go and do in the helicopter, and a guy to go and stay at the building. But I suppose that'd be a lot harder to do. But the game was still that fun. The characters were likable. You had Franklin, who was your traditional GTA anti-hero. You got Michael, who's the older guy. You think he may have been like Franklin in his younger days, and Trevor just a complete lunatic. The 3 work so well together with the way they interact, and it was just refreshing to actually have a character in these GTA games. Well, not just one character, 3 characters that I liked, not so much Trevor. And the other side of it is you had GTA Online. Now, lots of issues when this first came out, but I'm not holding it against Rockstar. When it finally did work, still had fun on it. It's a game that you definitely want to play with people. Playing it by yourself, not as fun, because certain missions, when you're doing the missions, not say the races and the things where it's all competitive, but the cooperative play is really good. And this, I can imagine, is only going to get better when they finally bring in the heists. Something I hope they're not going to bring in as a DLC and will just be part of the game, because I believe that's what we were promised. But it only recently occurred to me about DLC on these games. Something more to the game. And I don't think we're going to have the 3 characters anymore. Like how with GTA 4 you had Johnny come in for the Lost and the Damned. I think hopefully we'll get something like that. Maybe more characters we can switch back and forth between, or if it's just going to be one guy. I think because it was such a high mechanic, the switching, that's something they're going to keep in. Really interested to see when that's going to happen. I did hear it's going to happen before the end of the year. I could be wrong with that, don't quote me. But interested to see what's going on. And finally, at the number 1 spot of my top 10 games is Number 1 spot. Now, Blaze did try and guess this, and he thought it was Borderlands 1. Not Borderlands 1, because Borderlands 1 had a terrible storyline on the main game. That is, it just didn't end well. It built up so well, but just didn't end well. This was redeemed with the DLCs, which in part was done through bringing on Anthony Birch, who was a great writer, with General Knox, which was the best DLC, and so now the lead writer on Borderlands 2. So 4 new characters in Borderlands 2. I did my traditional thing. I went as Axton because I like playing as the soldier, now Commando. I like the turret. The turret had better sort of skills that you could level up as you went through the game. Never really been a fan of the Siren, and the Assassin didn't really make sense to me as much as I liked Mordecai more than I liked the Assassin. Gunzerk is just ridiculous. I never liked Brick in the first place either, but so playing through as Axton. Story so fun. The comedy is perfect. Gearbox did well to see that the fans loved the 2 DLCs with Anthony in, and brought him on as lead writer and just let him create such a great story. Now, graphically, it's not as good as sort of other games, but I like the cel-shaded style, the comic book style. I mean, I'm a big fan of comics, so that's probably one of the other reasons this drew to me. And I like RPGs, I like first-person shooters, so first-person RPG, first-person shooter, whatever order we're going to put that in, definitely a game we'll love. And they didn't disappoint with DLCs either. I mean, you had Captain Scarlet's Booty, which was fun, definitely a good first DLC. Hammerlock, not so much. It was sort of too collectible-y, and that was the issue that they had in the first game with the collectible achievements, which I still need to do, and I've almost beat that game, and I've almost beat this game. It was the next one. Oh yeah, Torg. Torg was a fun one. Only a little bit collectible with the pictures. One of the achievements I still need to do, but a good storyline there. Torg was a great addition, because we've seen a lot about the other weapons companies within the game, and that's sort of where they get their DLC ideas from. And Torg is one we hadn't had before, and loves his explosions, and all the weapons do explode. The last DLC, the Tiny Tina doing the Dungeons and Dragons bit. Now, one, brilliant because I love Dungeons and Dragons, but as you play through it, you start to realise that this isn't just a comedy game, and the storyline that you have in the main with some of the main characters dying, and how sad it sort of made the other characters. Yeah, it's not all just fun and games in this wasteland, that there are real consequences. And this last DLC, or the last one that came out, there are others planned, it sort of shows how Tina, the youngest of the group, deals with it, and how she brings Roland back, and just doesn't want to let go. And she's sort of making out all these enemies that she can't do anything about, and putting them in the game to sort of defeat. And it's sort of showing how her mind works and the psychological things that are going on. And it was sort of like I didn't expect from sort of the Borderlands team and Anthony Birch, because they're doing very much comedy, and sure they've had the good storyline before, but this was a level I didn't expect. And showed some good acting, or voice acting, from Ashley Birch, who did the voice of Tiny Tina. Yeah, so that's why this one is my number 1. It's got the great comedy and the great storyline and the great gameplay. This is a game that you will want to play with your friends. Now, Borderlands 1, Matt and Tony and I played this together, and we were playing it through, and as you play with other people, it does up the difficulty and you get better loot. Same with number 2, play with other people and you have such a better idea, especially if you play as different characters, because you've got everything covered. But even if you were to play as the same characters, because there's different skill trees you have along their lines, you can create completely different things. Like I'm going to use number 1 for an example, but me and Tony both played as Roland, as a soldier. Tony's soldier was more of a DPS, and I played as what would be a cleric. I had healing and ammo regeneration on my turret, and any friendly I shot got health, whereas he had lots of damage, lots of status effect things going on. And even though we're the same character, it's a completely different side of gameplay. And then we had Matt with us playing as the rogue, and great sort of all-rounder team there. And that worked again with Borderlands 2. Matt playing as the Siren, getting a good rogue sort of thing. I played as the soldier with a good DPS, and Tony played as Zero the assassin, which I suppose that is sort of another rogue character, but more an assassin. This is us looking at the characters as Dungeons and Dragons RPG style characters, which, as I said, was the last DLC. So this game, I recommend that everyone go out and get. If you haven't got it, go get it and get the DLCs. And there's all these new DLCs coming out. I don't think there's gonna be a second season pass, but looking forward for that. This is my top 10. Possibly gonna have lots of people disagreeing with me about stuff, and I would kind of like to hear it in the comments below. Just want to know your opinions. What would be your top 10? That's what I want to know. What is your top 10 of all the 360 games that we've had in the tenure of its existence? So, yeah, my top 10 for Xbox Week. Like, subscribe. Go to binarycord.org. Can't stress this enough. We have more than just our gaming videos that we have on YouTube. We've got other such articles and stuff going out. There's going to be a couple of written top 10s by some of our other members. So you won't see them here on YouTube. You should go over to binarycord.org and look at those and see all our other articles that we do. But yeah, thanks for listening. Bye guys.
I've never done it with this many people before.
Challenge. Yeah.
All I ask is for my iridium back.